Fade in.
Greetings, friends, and welcome. Let me get rid of this little bit of intro noise here and just say this. I saw a movie, so you didn't have to. And frankly, this one, you're going to get to pick for yourself. Normally, when I do a movie review, I do it pre-recorded. I have all my talking points. I walk through them diligently and lead you along the primrose path. Recently, I decided I would do them live like I just did. And let me tell you, Marvin the Movie Monster just now is giving me a call. But let me just say it this way. I saw the movie, and I wanted to be able to tell you right away, just like I did last week or 2 weeks ago, what I got to see. And whether or not this stands up to something like Superman. After all, we're talking about two films from the same genre. They're both superhero films with primary characters in them. Superman, primary character for DC. Fantastic Four is the first family of Marvel. They've been telling stories for a long, long time, longer than I've actually been alive. So when you go back in time and you try to retell a story around some interesting things, you have to ask yourself questions along the way. For me, I was asking questions about, is this a compelling story? And I've heard some spin from some folks, some conversations from some folks about their thoughts around this film. I don't necessarily share those sentiments, but I understand where they come from. And I want to say thank you to Ruby Hoo for a super duper chat for $2. Thank you so very much. And for the gifty, that's right, gifting a Culture Casino membership to one of you lucky folks. I see that our good friend Eric K is out in the house. Good to see you. Love this guy. I love that guy. Eric K. Thank you for the $2 super chat. This is going to be a weird review. So what we'll do is I will first start off with what I think some of the other people have been seeing versus what I saw and why. Pretty good description. I am not going to give you spoilers in the first half of this review because, well, first of all, I think everybody deserves a chance to hear about the film without spoilers in a way that, well, preserves some of the most important parts of the film. When we get to Q&A at the second half of this, and I'll let you know, we will start to talk about some of the spoilers. But I do want to say thank you to Eric K. I want to say thank you to Ruby Hoove, and not only for her gifty, but for her super chat as well. So thank you guys. Much appreciated. We will press on. So first of all, this is a superhero movie. It is a film that has not been done successfully every time I've ever seen it, including a Fan Four Stick, which was something that they just sort of, gotten rid of. They never should have released it. Most embarrassing film ever released, maybe, other than maybe the Marvels. But it was a bad movie and never should have been done. The first two Fantastic Fours that Fox did were passable. I mean, they were a movie. They made some money. Second one, not quite as much, but the first one, yeah, solid swing. You might have hit a double. You probably hit a double. Got the ball into the outfield, gave it a little extra leg, and kicked it into second base. But that was it. It never got better than that. In way back when they tried to do this originally, the Corman film didn't even come out officially. You can find it on the internet all over the place. Still probably the most faithful adaptation to what the story would have been, or maybe even what the story was. And the retrofuturism that's in this world actually works. I didn't think it would. I didn't think they could sustain it. I would have thought that more of our world would have crept in, and it kind of sort of did, but really no more than maybe Dick Tracy's universe did. But when you're looking at Fantastic Four and the world that it's in, it's its own world, just like the last Superman film was. And that was something I was trying to convey a couple of weeks ago in one of these live reviews. The Superman world worked because it was encapsulated in its own world, its own universe, its own environment that it just was going to play off of. And once you got settled into that environment, you were comfortable. You find yourself the same way in this. Although Shackman's not nearly as skilled a filmmaker as James Gunn is, but that's another conversation. The world opens up in a way that's easy to understand, and it gets you into the story, which is why I think Kevin Feige was praising James Gunn's performance with Superman so highly. Why he was just like being very effusive and elevating to James Gunn's story, because they tried to do roughly the same thing in this movie. So first and foremost, you're not out of place and you're not lost, and there is no other story you need to know. So when you walk into that theater, sit down, this is a fully encapsulated world that you don't have to play catch up in. Good point. Good thing. Then the world comes into full focus and color, you understand the progressions that's happened here. You've already heard the story of how they went to space and they became the super beings that they became, and how Ben became, well, Thing. That has already been cooked. So by the time you're the first 15 minutes into it, you've had a nice little refresher on everything that happened before via news clippings and some look backs and things like that. And of course, a television special that just kind of gets you where you need to go. The story really picks up when they recognize that Sue is pregnant. Okay, I'm not spoiling that. Everybody here knows Sue Storm is pregnant. And during the course of her pregnancy, things are happening in the world around them. And that's fantastic. And it's kind of, it's kind of a natural evolution in the storytelling. You get to know some of the characters and some of the creatures and the beings they've defeated before in the past. There is no red ghost, just one sighting, one lousy little sighting of the red ghosts, red monkeys, red chimps, red apes, whatever you want to call them. And you really don't even get to see the Mole Man in action, just the resolution of peace with Mole Man. And then they start to lay it on thick for Sue, because the powers that be, that are Kevin Feige, didn't think that she had enough depth in her character other than being both the invisible girl and all-powering and all-powerful and, you know, master of telekinesis and whatnot. So they had to give her something else, so they gave her basically their version of the UN. And it highlighted the countries that weren't participating in their version of the UN, like Latvia. But when you look at all that development happening, other things are happening in parallel. Ben develops a relationship with Natasha Lyonne's character, who is as inconsequential as you could possibly be. And I will say, none of the other characters that were supposed to be in this are of any consequence. They're not important. They weren't germane to the story, and therefore felt like a waste of time. There's a lot of that in this movie. Be prepared for boredom. Maybe not in the same way you could get bored with Superman, but in a different way where there are large chunks of boredom. in this story. There's still things happening, and if you pay attention, you might glean something from it. But it's not exactly the most engaging of stories, let's say. And it's only in the 3 segments that are action-oriented that you actually become invested. Ultimately, we get to the point where Ball shows up, and to be fair, not as offensive as I was assuming she would be. So that's a step on the plus side. I would have thought this would have been a absolute natural disaster, something that would have plagued my mind for the rest of the film. And it only ended up checking my watch twice. One, to see when we actually got to the end or the beginning of the second act, the end of the first act, beginning of the second act. And once when I thought this movie's gone on too long, where's the ending? Which came shortly after that, thank goodness. But Shala Ball shows up. She's heralding Galactus, who's on his way to ruin your day. Now, all along, they've been receiving transmissions, and they were trying to figure out what they were. They made recordings of them. Those are important later in the story, and we'll get to that during the spoiler portion. But that's when things start to happen. The beginning of the second act. Shala Ball. And then they have to go up and try to engage this crisis, which they do to not very much success. And at the same time, you end up with the birth of the baby Franklin. Again, no spoilers. Everybody knows what this is. When we get to the third act, and that's how quickly things change, they're still looking for a solution to the Galactus problem. And they have to come up with multiple solutions along the way, because nothing seems to be working. And for being a super genius, Pedro Pascal is really good at playing an idiot. And they portray him as an idiot at several different points, or unaware of what it is that he needs to do. And he relies on some really old math references, such as, give me a fulcrum and a place to stand, a lever and a place to stand, and I will move the world, kind of a concept. In fact, I think that's almost verbatim the line that's in there. And again, ultimately they end up finding the solution, but then they have to find another solution and then another solution. And as you so feared, which is 100% true, everything that I said this movie would be is a gynocentric film. It's a Sue Richards story. It might as well be a Denise Richards story. It doesn't really matter, but it's a Mary Sue story. But not so Mary Sue. Because she absolutely earns it. In fact, everybody in the film actually mostly earns what they've got, except for any ancillary characters. So if your attention strayed from the 6-7 people you're supposed to be paying attention to in this movie, you will feel like you've wasted your time. And you did, because that's exactly what happened. Let's see what you guys have to say. I loved Superman, expected nothing. I have no interest in Disney, Marvel. Unlimited Continental, I understand that perspective. I had less than negative expectations on this. But frankly, it's not that bad. In fact, now that I've come to be familiar with some other people's opinions after I've formed my own fairly clearly at this point, faster than normal, by the way, this is on the same level as Superman, which means it's not great. It's not bad. It's not the worst movie I've seen this year. There are many contenders for that, trust me. But it is, it's better than Jurassic World. I was less bored. I still was bored. Like I said, 3 extended periods of boredom. But, there's that. Biggles Mets in the house says, hi, here is my I am never watching this movie review. Oh, there you go. This is the greatest movie I will never watch. Like I say, for all movies I will never watch, this will be the greatest amongst them, I imagine. I watched some clips from Pedro and Vanessa interviews. They are very creepy. Oh, you will find several moments of creepy in this movie. These two people are working really hard to pretend that there might be some chemistry there. There's some creepiness from Pedro, and there's some I'm trying to accept this person so I can advance my career kind of creepiness going the other direction. Hopefully that makes sense. Vanessa's really there to try to capitalize on an opportunity to, get some of the Pedro shine to aim her direction. She was wasted. Everybody in this was wasted. This was a wasted opportunity at a movie. But with all that being said, still not the worst movie I saw this year, and right on par with Superman. Hey, Tony Piacente's in the house. Good to see you. Ghoster's out there. Great to see you. I said hi to Battle Bunny right off the bat. Davina Duckworth is joining us. Good to see you. Snakes and Funerals. ZBR, what's up, Andy? John the Beagle Dad is out there. We got so many of you out there. Jason Webster's out there. What's going on? Been a minute. And a few other folks as well. All right. So when you get down to it, they did portray the first family, probably the best that they could have with the people they cast. Vanessa still may have been not the perfect casting, but she was good enough to do a really good Sue in this form. I don't know what the Baccarat, Evan, whatever his name is, Baccarat guy, Baccarat, whatever. I don't know what they asked him to do during the movie, but it didn't seem to change anything that was delivered. Johnny Storm was lacking all depth, and they didn't even try to portray him as a womanizer or not a womanizer. They tried to create him as a soft male feminist that was interested in hitting on Shalala Ball. We'll get to that during the spoiler part. The biggest problem is as a woman, I'm sick of them loading all this stuff on our backs and have enough to carry on women. Yeah, we do need to be Mary. Why do we have to be Mary Sue? I don't know. Like I said, this was always going to be a Sue Storm movie. I'm trying to get rid of the Mary there. Sorry. It just comes naturally with the character. But they really did make this a gynocentric movie, just like I've been warning. In fact, that's actually going to be one of the new themes on this channel. We'll be talking about the gynocentric world that Disney's been trying to build since Endgame. And even before that, if you remember, during Endgame, they gave you the A-Force. Lovely goodness. Not the best. But no, I understand. But it wasn't done to the effect that it has been before. So to say that they've toned it down, they have. The message was still there. I know that other people are going to miss it, but there is a lot of neo-Marxism stuffed in here. Everybody be kind to each other, and we're going to all band together around the world and play, shuffleboard or something. I don't know. That's really, but anyway, that's a spoiler thing. I'm just saying it's not completely absent. And Chase looks meh. Look, you're going to hear the full gamut, the full spectrum of reviews. I don't think this is the worst movie of the year. It's better than a 5. It was in focus. The CGI did not at all during almost the entire time, just a couple of spots, and that's because I'm super picky, that the CGI actually worked in this movie, which again, hard to do for Disney these days. Galactus, Zombie Box Review says, Galactus was great in the movie. I think the portrayal of Galactus was genius. And I think it was absolutely overblown. The article that I read this morning in the 6 Minute Daily was more said about him than even deserved to be. You don't get to see his actual performance. You don't even get to see actually him. You see, robot armored version of him. But at least it does convey what the character does, what its purpose is, and what the plan was. All of that is in there, and I'm not going to tell you any of that, at least not till we get to spoilers. Hey, Leif Erickson's here. I think you mean shave my something. You guys are great. Hey, I know that guy. That's Brahma Bull. He's got a great channel. You should check him out, especially if you're into politics on the weekend. Shalalala ding dong. That's right, Caleb. That's right. Hey, we got folks over on the X platform. Good to see you. Thanks for being there. And people over on here on the tube. Popcorn Power. Admit it, Pedro Pascal takes care of Galactus the Captain Sweden way. I didn't see that. That might have been an extra cut scene, an extra after credit scene that aired 5 minutes after the film was over and everybody had left and they'd cleaned up all the popcorn and they were ushering in the new audience because Pedro had less than anything to do with the actions taken against Galactus, at least the effective actions taken against Galactus. So there's that. Okay, bad me. I will watch the credits when it's streaming. But yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, you will not be surprised by anything in the end credits. There it is. Nothing else to say. No point. Corbin, Dallas, female silver server, no dice. Well, I don't think Julia even got a chance to play the character, to be fair. I look at this film as a missed opportunity for all of the actors and actresses in it, except for those that were seeking grandeur and a future in Hollywood, which was only 3 of them. I think Julia wants to be something more than a niche television actress. I think that I think Pedro's an obvious thing. And I think hot blonde chick is always going to try to be hot blonde chick. It doesn't matter if she's in Mission Impossible or this particular film. So there's that. Argentum, thanks for the notification, YouTube. Yeah, some of that's my fault. But I'm sure. You know what? Just blame me. Sci-Fi Snob is here. Not as boring as Jurassic World is not a ringing endorsement. No, it's not. But hey, it's on par with Superman. Okay? Some people that I know have said it's better than Superman. It's a little better than Superman. And some people that I know have said it's not as good as Superman. It's close, but just not quite. Okay. If you're looking at superhero fodder for the year, I don't think we're ever going to get any better than that. They certainly are reluctantly giving you the bare minimum of the message, but that's still in there. The neo-Marxism is still there. The girl power is still in there. And look, I like girl power. I think I've made it very clear. I like Rogue. Thank you, Rogue. Yes. And a big fan of, a Storm. Yeah, actual Storm. X-Men Storm. Yeah. Halle Berry. Woo-hoo, hello. And then, I like Rebecca Romaine, because, she plays a pretty good character. Look, there are equally power males and females, but to try to retread areas that were male characters is always a bad plan. And every time they do it, even in the comic books going all the way back to the 70s, didn't work out very well. This was a blatant gender swap. If you consider the number of panels that Silver Surfer has been in up until recent days, in the comics, it was like 8 panels in total out of a comic. So really, this is not a character that was ever fully fleshed. Vanessa has to act creepy to try to balance out Pedro. Well, you know what? That's actually a good point. It is normal now, everybody. Is it normal now, everybody? No, it is not. But she does have to act creepy in a different way. Very strange. Our good friend Maravita is here. Good to see you. Greetings, Culturians. Indeed. Drinker had a couple people on. Open Bar said Pedro was the best actor in the movie, to my shock. No, but here's something that's, what's absent? The over-the-top summer sizzle, plastic rainbow device-licking freak show. He wasn't in there. I've never been too adverse to his actual acting, but everything that he's done in the last 4 years has been complete trash. Actually, a little bit before that. It's been a while. He was great in Narcos. He was pretty good as the Viper in Game of Thrones, but that's a limited character. Didn't play it exactly like the literature, but that's a different conversation. And, Ghoster is correct. Pedro's a rich communist. Yep. Yeah. He did not. His family didn't actually get an up close and personal meeting and tour. By Pinochet. If they'd gotten a helicopter tour, we'd be looking at a different actor right now. ZBR says, I think Vanessa's undoing her husband. I think you're probably right. It kind of looks like it. Hey, Tway Wen, how are you doing, my friend? Hail all. Going to see F4 this Saturday. Okay, F4 or F1? If you're going to see F1, I'd be excited for you. F4? Let me know what you think, my friend, please. Yeah, Mary Sue Storm, indeed. Oh, I'm way behind y'all. Sorry. Man, I'm cooking behind. I'm like 10 minutes behind you guys. Wow. Sorry. Let's see. Hey, it was in focus, Ghoster. The movie was in focus. I didn't have any flickering lights in my theater. I had the faint aroma of popcorn. There was no baby vomit in my seat. I mean, I can go through a list of things I didn't have to suffer from in this movie. Oh, no. This is not a generic, The Dead Man. It's not a generic message of that. There's a lot of kumbaya in here that doesn't fit, is very forced. It would have been more worthy in Superman. Yeah, see it for yourself. That's not true. I like people liking each other. I really do. I like people. Some. Let's get back to it. Okay, so when we get to the third act, everything goes the way it has to. Sue Storm gets centered. And Galactus, the Galactus situation gets resolved. There are two moments that I think was a very good way to put the ketchup bottle back on the ketchup at the end. They opted for one of the two of them, and it worked. And you had what rarely happens in Marvel films, a satisfying ending with the opening towards the next chapter, since this is the beginning of Phase 6. And I guess the rest of Phase 6 is whatever Avengers weirdness comes out of this Doomsday thing. The question's going to be here as we come to the end of the non-spoiler area. Was this movie of enough consequence that it's going to bring audiences, for example, normies, back to the theaters to watch it? I still don't have an answer for that question. I could give you a thought I have around it, but not the actual answer. I think enough people will go and see this that it's not going to be a failure the level of Captain Anti-America or Thunderdolts. This may have stepped out of the shadow of the absolute worst of the worst Marvel movies. But is it too late? That question can only be answered by this weekend's performance and the following weekend's performance. Word of mouth is going to count a lot here. And because I'm not hating on it, my instinct is telling me this might crawl to 700 million. Maybe a little higher. It may pull a Jurassic World. Maybe. I'm watching the trend turn the wrong direction for Disney and for Marvel as international audiences kind of crawl inward and only go to things that they might locally have an interest in, like F1. So I'll have a better feel for this on Saturday. And by the time I do my box office breakdown on Sunday that you guys will see on Monday, that will give you an indication of A, what I think is going to happen, B, what the box office did, and where that trend line will put us. I don't, is it possible it could get to 125 million domestic? Yeah, it could. There's not much there, though. Go into the movie and just prepare yourself for 3 chunks of anything. a serving of exposition, too much Pedro Pascal, and a lot of people being there because script says so, not because anything needed to or had to happen or they couldn't convey whether or not something needed to be there or had to happen. So there's that. I didn't actually feel the Superman movie was copied. I've heard some people describe that way, but I didn't feel like that. I can see why somebody would say that. Did they trick me? They didn't trick me. I'm not. I'm not in full support of this at all. I'm just saying it's not the worst movie that I saw this year. There's still woke embedded in it. There has to be. That's just what Kevin Feige does. They definitely, you could actually see where they had excised things that were supposed to be there, whether it be Red Ghost or a couple of the other battles it was supposed to have with villains. They just kind of condensed all those things. But you can see where elements got stripped out. You can see a lot of the reshoots, especially the ending, that they had to hurry up and finish in order to not get the audience to turn tail and run from everything Marvel going forward. I just, these are not engaging characters. And if you were going to, make try to make characters that have never been successful, this didn't do it. This is not going to be $1 billion blockbuster. In fact, most people may be done, may just be absolutely be done. And Victor's laughing at my good friend Sander Hammerschlag saying, Congo. That's right, Congo. Speaking of condos, I will say this, the models were poorly made. Whether they be digital frameworks or if they were actual physical, I don't know which in some of the cases because I didn't really care to pay attention enough. But some of the models were very weak. Just really bad. Was Galactus threatening enough to save this film? The presence of the character and the way that he was presented could have been. There were moments on Earth in the third act where you were like, okay, that's pretty ridiculous. But, it was covered over by other moments that were more important to the viewer. So we'll see. What else we got out there? Uh, Turu Okiawa Oikawa says that it was enjoyable, but Superman was better in my opinion. The pacing in Superman. Please preach 100%. Pacing was 100% better in Superman. Again, but I can understand why people are flipping and flopping between the two movies, but that's not going to read well for either of them. I mean, if Superman somehow miraculously gets to $600 million, it's not going to be profitable. It might be close. Actually, that puts it pretty close because that had $170 million in partner contribution or in-kind contribution. This is not going to benefit from that. And if anything, because of the last moment reshoots and rushes and everything that they had to do at the beginning of the year, especially in that third act, man, you could actually almost see it. And especially how they reworked the end, because some of the people who had seen some of the early test screenings for this saw a different ending than you're going to see, or even I guess technically I saw. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with y'all. Deeple reposted this stream. Thank you, my friend. Much appreciated. Yeah, I actually saw that the Skydance Paramount deal got approved by the FCC while I was watching this movie quietly in my seat. Pretty quiet. F1 IMAX says it's coming back to their theaters end of summer. That makes a lot of sense because I'm telling you, F1, big movie internationally. I don't think either Superman or Fantastic Four are going to score all that well. This is not, the First Family is popular in the United States. It isn't around the world. I think people are tired of things that they're not familiar with and supporting them to the nth degree. So that might be it too. Hey, William. Saw you at the beginning. Good to see you. Does the movie get a would recommend or a not recommend? I don't give it anything. This thing sits probably at a 6.5 to a 7. Because as much as I tried to put it on the same pedestal as Superman, I just can't. So you guys just got the breakdown. That's the actual score. Somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7. I'll firm it up here probably tomorrow, but go in there with expectations of playing hopscotch and having to share to wait your turn, which leads to some points that are a little bit less exciting than others. Good night, Ruby Hoove. I hope you have a great evening. Thank you for the $2 super chat, dear. Much appreciated. And Keep It Real's in the house. Good to see you. A few other folks. Carlos Alfredo Lopez. And the Bosco scenario. What's going on there, my friend? Enjoyed the movie? Good. You're also a Canadian, so. I'm kidding. Guy Scar, I'm kidding. That's a good dude right there. Yeah. Did Reed Ricardo use his powers? You know what? Are we to spoilers yet in the chat? Are we okay? We okay to do spoilers now? Yeah. He did. Especially at the end, they gave him a chance to use some of them. He is really weakling in this movie, though. Really weakling. Member chat from our good friend JB Spooky Reviews. Been here for 20 more months. My friend, I know that's a struggle. Thank you. Says Disney and Pedro hate you. Stop giving them money. Okay. Deal. Let's do that. I rarely give Disney money. So there's that. I wasted my money on Cap 4. I won't be seeing any more Marvel movies. Evil Fred? I can't blame you. Can't blame you. All right, so spoiler-wise, look, the whole recap, which is largely the first 10 to 12, maybe 15 minutes of the movie, for the family, that makes a lot of sense. It brings an audience that's unfamiliar with the backstory to just enough familiarity that they'll be able to catch on. And that wasn't a bad thing. It was just a terrible waste of time. When they could have just acknowledged it with a bunch of like magazines as they did the opening credits, like just magazine headlines of different things that they accomplished, which they also did that at the beginning and at the end of the movie too, but that's a different story. There's a lot of dead space in that first act. So maybe they should have done more development in things that they cut out to make the film A, shorter, and B, try to clean up the ending. The last act obviously was where they tried to put all the bang for their buck. Even the action scenes feel a little bit plain. When at the end of the first act, beginning of second, where they have to, try to go visit Galactus, they go to quote unquote negotiate or whatnot, which is dumb. They do utilize a lot of great tech. Things look good, but that's if you like Avatar movies, which the sole thing going for them is it's good, it looks good, it's in focus, and it's surreal. You'll like it. Looks good. The backstory that is developed at the end of the first act between Johnny Storm and Shalabal is interesting. And what Johnny Storm's able to do with that is also interesting. Completely different side of a character, or a invented side of a character we never saw before. Being able to trace her Shalabal back to where she began and joined up with Galactus so he would spare her planet. Interesting stuff. The Shalabal character really isn't utilized all that much. Surprisingly little, to be fair. The menace that you guys are looking for, or some of you are looking for, out of Galactus comes out of how long it takes for him to get from across space. When apparently, the somewhat months-long journey that took the Fantastic Four to get to where Galactus was, to their planet, was interesting. Crazy stuff. The second act is essentially just the Galactus confrontation and the things that evolve around it, and Mary Sue Storm having the baby, Franklin, while they're in the midst of the flight back, while they're under pursuit by Shalalal's character, whom they actually knock into a black hole, basically, and they take themselves wildly out of course so that they can land back on Earth despite the fact of not having enough fuel. It's all explained in the slingshot that they do. Lots of things for plot's sake. Again, everything's centered around Sue Storm. It just is. Immaturity, depth, direction, understanding, all that is saddled with Sue's character. On Sue's character, like Argentum and others were worried about. The Matt Shackman direction was uninspired. There doesn't ever seem to be a moment that comes out of nowhere that is either to amaze or stun or surprise the audience. I do believe that IMAX would have been a much better experience for anybody. And like I said, everything's in focus. The CGI actually looks good for a change. First time in a long time for Marvel. Released the McCracken says it was okay, but wasn't spectacular. See, and this is the sentiment that you're going to hear firmly. Yeah, I didn't have to go see it first day. I didn't have to see it. I could have waited till streaming. And that's the other problem with movies now. Because the FOMO, right? The FOMO feeling that we all had with Marvel, that's gone. It's not special anymore. Nothing's special anymore. The minute that streaming became ubiquitous, you got rid of all the polish and shine. That's not good. It's not good for anything. Any form of entertainment that was unique, that was an exciting communal experience, becomes less so when everybody could do it even in the comfort of their own homes or with a select group of people. I mean, you don't need a cult-like behavior to make that happen. Regardless, by the time you get to the end of the second act, you have a firm idea what they're going to try to pull off in the third act, which is also a problem. It's the same problem that Jurassic World Afterbirth suffered from. I know basically beat for beat what's going to happen. Even the twisty that they try to do. Well, this isn't going to work now. Yeah. There's plenty of that. Oh, what's going to happen now? Well, who's going to be the key to everything? I've seen this movie before, and so have you. If you've seen Woke Storytelling 101 or Neo-Marxist Storytelling Under 1, even if it's well disguised, it's the same plan, same play. Is the girl key to everything? Is the baby key to everything? Is the baby a girl? That's the trifecta. Key to everything. In this case, it wasn't the case, but there was definitely a key to everything there. And at the very end of the movie, and this is a major spoiler, cover your ears, run away, run away. Mary Sue Storm dies for a few minutes. And guess what? Who brings them back? Who brings her back? The baby. Of course, that was telegraphed in some comics as well, but still, kind of funny. Want to say thank you to JJ. What's up, JJ Gosling, for £5 sterling, kids. This is proper money. Proper. Do you think the discourse over this movie will be as robust as Superman? No, because it's blander than Superman. Truly, this movie was bland. You're going to hear that from more people than me, because somebody said it to me before I had even had a chance to get back to them about what I had seen. Understand? It's not us, it's the product. Something is rotten in Denmark. Oh, Caravaggio, you could not be 100% more right. Yeah, seeing something that would be great would be special, but it's not going to happen. Paul Cochran, my friend, I want to see something great. I do. Sometimes I see moments of greatness. We used to see a lot of greatness, like consecutive greatness. That's really cool. I got to see that. Hey, Michael Krinsky, good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. There are rehashed tropes, things you've seen before. And unfortunately, that's the Kevin Feige recipe. Matt Shackman is a very diligent soldier and is going to take the marching orders from somebody like Feige. But do you know what that does? It puts us in a worse position, because Shackman's going to do one of these other new things and it's going to suck rocks. I'm tired of sucking rocks. Some of my friends have high expectations for Vision Quest, the TV program. First of all, if they stoop to putting it on TV, I have low expectations for it. Second, I just have low expectations for Marvel. Mark's in the chat. Mark Lursurth, what's up, my friend? Yeah, Critical Drinker. I saw that he liked it. Or what's a facsimile of like? He didn't show absolute outward disdain for it. And I think you could insinuate that he liked the movie, but there are a lot of things a lot of people aren't saying right now. They're not telling you how bland it is. If you go and see this in a theater, if you don't get a screener, but if you go see this in a theater or you see it in IMAX or whatever, if you see it in IMAX especially, you probably will be blown away. And then just like Star Wars, Force Awakens, you're going to be at home less than a week later thinking back in your mind's eye, what was I so excited about again? This film has the staying power of an ice cold glass of milk, because at one point that's going to tip over the threshold of room temperature, and that won't be milk you may want anymore. At least I don't know about that as far as you're concerned. And yeah, there's that. But I appreciate all of you out there. Is Mac out there? Eugene Johnson says, isn't this like the comics? Only the very recent ones by the people pushing the activists that work at Marvel now. Shalalala ball. And look, I'm going to say something surprising to you. Didn't hate it. Wasn't the same, but it wasn't going to be the same. essentially the same kind of message, but in the end, the gynocentric notion of this film was made whole between the pretty blonde girl and the silver, hubcap chick. No, Franklin is very much definitely a boy with a very bad haircut, especially at the end. Very cute though. I think kids and I think babies are great. So you're not going to get me to say anything negative about the little ones. First of all, because there was a moment during the end credit scene, which is so brief with the end credit scenes, that I was like, that kid is got the thing. Just with no acting, no presence, no awareness that's what they were doing. But there's that. So no stakes. That's it. Come in, Dallas. That's actually probably a better way to say. And again, it's bland. The story didn't have a chance to go anywhere, nor was it ever planned to go anywhere. It was to get you to next thing. Consume product, and then go consume new product. Rave about product, buy product, around product, and then go buy new product. Yeah. JB, please don't spoil this movie I'm never going to see. But look, if you enjoyed it, this is something important. This is especially for you, Eugene. This is especially for you. Understand something. I'm not yucking your yum. Okay. If you loved this movie, if this thing was great, if you loved it, please continue to love it. Take everything I said, set it in the back of your mind. Okay. Because I don't want to destroy people's enjoyment. I'm going to give you my opinion. I will tell you why. I will tell you where things fall apart. Like any kind of relationship that anybody out of Sue and Pedro's character has is, tangential at best. The Natasha Lyonne character, any of the big stuff that she was supposed to do got pulled out of the movie during the reshoots. She was inconsequential, other than to say hi to Ben Grimm and to randomly, query him at the end of the movie if he needed spiritual guidance because she was, I guess, in what would serve as a Jewish synagogue. That's going to make a lot of the flag waving people a little crazy. That destroy college campuses because they don't like one particular religion. But outside of that, I don't know. Woke is an interesting question, William. It had all of the elements in there. I mean, if you were walking down a buffet line and you were going to take like a little bit of this bland macaroni and cheese and a little bit of this, bland 2-day-old bread, and a little bit of this, what would you call that? Clam chowder that maybe is a little iffy after 24 hours. And you were trying to load up your buffet with stuff like that. This would have had a pretty moldy version of woke in it, but it was still there. The bones of it was still there. So there's that. Yeah, the Galactus's big arc is that he wants to retire. That's absolutely one of the major points there. But I think if you would be excused if you missed that. Because a lot of stuff wasn't played for humor this time. By the way, you get a reprieve from Marvel, Joss Whedon's / James Gunn humor in this movie. You do. There's some, but the humor is actually for humor's sake. Not to take you away from feeling something, which is another problem with Marvel movies. On the off chance you might actually feel something, we're going to make sure you yuck it up. That didn't happen in this one. Again, this is why this movie isn't bad. This is why this movie is going to be tolerable for an audience. This is why some people, and again, I'm going to say this because I really don't want you to leave here feeling like I'm hating your movie. I'm not. If you like this movie, there are elements there to enjoy. You're 100% right. The visuals on it, as I said before, this is the first time I haven't seen CGI, Marvel screw up CGI, like through the whole film. There were only 2 spots, and again, That could have maybe not even been CGI. It could have been somebody else. But it did make for a couple of locations where there were definitely sustained muddy frames or blurry, extra blur. Somebody went, ooh, I don't really want to work too hard on that. I'm going to blur this a little more. Okay, that's okay. We already knew who's cast in Doomsday. Yeah, and that again, they took away a lot of everything. They can now release the other 25 to 30 chairs that they want to show people that are empty for 5 hours. Coast Casino didn't sell out like most influencers on Useless Tube. Thank you, Paul, but I don't really take it that way. I see the films for what they are, and I've been a film fan forever, even before I went to film school, or as a film fan. So it's just this one actually tried to take you beginning to end in a clumsy way through a story. One that wasn't terrible. But again, they cannot hide the politics completely enough. And I think that's one of the reasons why Feige went out of his way, and tell me if I'm wrong, Paul, but went out of his way to say Disney would never be woke. That's quite literally what that man said 7 years ago, 2018. And as he started to acquire complete control over Marvel Studios and everything that would be coming out of it, he told you are going to get more female characters than men. Even if we have to invent them or steal them away from others. He didn't say that part, but I'm adding it. I'm going to watch it again. Probably not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. And again, I need to solidify my score in a way that makes me feel more comfortable. But this isn't a C movie. This is a D+ movie. It might end up on D+ pretty quick. And you know, Disney likes the D. I'm sure the cinema score will be somewhere around a B or B+ maybe, as people exit the theater. There's that. My good friend, I'll say this again. Marvel is dead, and Feige killed it. Weatherman for 31 months here, and support everywhere, my friend, that I can't even acknowledge and say thank you enough for. You're right. We are watching shambling shells at the moment. And look, you're going to get good moments of shambling shells. I don't misunderstand. Like, there were elements of Gunn's last Marvel film that I thought were good, but for a decent portion of that film, I was turned off for a myriad of reasons, including the animal cruelty part, which, again, was done for effect, and I understand why. So I'm not hypercritical of that, but everything else. And again, that one had a lot of CGI issues in it. So there's that. So this movie sucks. Not quite. It's not good. It's not bad. This is maybe in the same neighborhood as Superman. And for some people, it'll be more better. And for some people, it won't be. But to me, this is better than the worst movie I've seen so far. That's got to be something. It's better than Jurassic World Afterbirth. Again, low bar, but still. And unfortunately, I mean, I only have 15 more minutes to give you my thoughts on this. So I will do it right up until I have to leave. But then I'm going to go hang out with WDW Pro shortly thereafter, and we are going to talk our way through this. So you'll be able to talk to both of us at the same time. We've got a lot out there. Given that Feige Beige said he'd never been satisfied with any Marvel movie, what exactly is his job again? Insert more activists. But like I said, I really don't want to turn it. Look, if you like this movie, I am not here to yuck your yum, but I'm going to tell you how I feel. Ambivalent. Blandtastic bore, Paul. You stole the name I want. You stole it. Came out of your brain. And that's the problem, honestly, is there was just too much bland in it. The, if I did a fan edit of this, and I say this often, and I may start doing them, but if I did a fan edit of this like a month down the road or whenever it goes out to digital or streaming, if I did a fan edit, I would be able to get this movie down to probably under 90 minutes. By the very least, a tight 90. You wouldn't miss anything, and you wouldn't care. But then that's another problem. Despite everything they cut to try to make it, tight down to the tight and curlies, they didn't cut enough because they didn't have enough story to tell, and they didn't have enough interesting to share with you. There was a substantial amount of superfluous. So there's that. Yeah, this is okay. So there's my sentiment. Film Threat, Alan and Chris said that they didn't hate the movie. It was and it was the best of Marvel this year. The other two things were dog duty. What are you comparing it to? Ironheart? Sure. This is way better than Ironheart. I get it. I'm either going to call Alan or I'm going to call Chris because I had to talk to one of them. Doctor Doom was cool at the end. I will say, even though we don't get a facial reveal, you get the hood. You get the classic Fox sound effect for the portal that he came in that you don't get to see him enter through. And then he's there looking at Franklin, and Franklin's touching his face at the end. You don't get to see his face though. That would have been even better. But that was a cool moment. I will say Eugene Johnson is correct. Girl boss fatigue will doom Supergirl. I tell you what, if that word of mouth on that movie isn't good in the first 2 days, that's going to pin it under for sure very quickly. And especially internationally, because that's another property. Because as somebody mentioned in the chat earlier, because I pay attention to you guys, you contribute to what we talk about here. DC just isn't, it just doesn't have the same cachet. And as somebody said in an earlier chat this morning, it's not toyetic. Well, they didn't make it toyetic. The opportunity to do that was when Zack Snyder was operating the property, and they didn't do that. You got to start doing stuff with your stuff. Yeah. Sounds like an awful lot of money to spend to produce a completely mid result. I'm sorry, I just can't justify spending $60. My friend, I understand you. I identify what you're saying, and I agree. And again, if you are still over the moon over Marvel and you love it, go see it. Okay? If you don't mind all the references to all of the neo-Marxism and the postmodern garbage that's polluting our world, if you don't mind that, which again, some of that's fine in film, some films especially, but go see it. Shala blah. Carlos. All right. Okay. Eugene Johnson says Johnny reached her emotionally. Based on nothing else than the very last part of the climax, I could see where somebody would draw that conclusion. It's the power of one, the power of two, the power of that's all I'll say. That's like the last thing. Here's the other thing. I did not get an emotional swell in places that I should have, like where my chest is like rising up and like, choking on, my heart and forcing emotion out of me, out of my cold, dead soul. It didn't do that. There were times when the movie felt like it was choking the life out of me, but that's a completely different conversation. I'm trying to catch up with. Hey, pop culture minefield, what is up? Did I like or dislike the movie? I did. This is not. This is a D plus. If you're giving it a letter grade, not quite a 7. Yep, it's Geary, my buddy Geary. Yep. I tell you what, the way the character the thing was played, there didn't need to be an actor at all. That Baccarat guy or whatever his name is, he didn't even need to be there. It was all completely fully inanimated, cocoon. That's a shame. You got flashbacks of him as a human. You see in the movie tonight, I'm not going to spoil it for you then. But you know what? Take a pillow and some aspirin. Tom Siebert says Superman was fun. Fantastic Four was not. There you go. There you go. And I understand that, right? Because I do. Because like I said, I still think Superman is much better than this movie. It's not a great movie. And again, neither of these are the worst movie I've seen this year. And they're not as bad. Well, no, actually, they're definitely not as bad as Jurassic World Afterbirth. Okay, so there's that. Okay, now this I can't compare the 3D print. I can't compare that, so I don't know. Superman is still not, a top end film. It's slightly better than this one. I absolutely enjoyed the movie. It had very little hints even at messaging. It did allow too much for Superman to be perceived as weak, but believe it or not, there were reasons for that throughout. And we're only year 3 of Superman and, not at full power. And when he could use his full power at the end of the movie, he did. I can go back through that movie. In fact, I should watch. I have a copy of it. I should watch it and kind of revisit it again. So, but there's that. Hey, Tina. Good to see you, dear. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, for Galactus wants to retire, doesn't have to eat the rest of the universe. No, well, I mean, he thinks if he can use the kid to retire. That's the storyline here. So, like I said, it's a lot of storylines from better places with better characters that are all kind of glommed together. Man, I got to catch up with you guys. I'm so sorry I'm so behind, folks. I'm going to scroll through. I'm going to say thank you to Eric K for another $5 super chat saying, culture, I like D's or even double D's. I understand that, Eric K. I understand that. And you can get all the D's you want over on Disney Plus. You're talking about a movie score. Sure. Better than Challengers. No, Challengers is still one of the worst movies I've seen in my lifetime. That is complete hot garbage. Starring a plank of wood and 2 oil stains. That's how terrible that film was. Just awful. Awful. That is exactly how I feel about Force Awakens. I'm telling you. Man, you just go back to it and you're like, bleh. Blantastic. That's right. You remember those baseball commercials? It's fantastic. Well, it'd be like, it's blantastic. Yeah, that's where we are. All right. I got to start to shuffle off, folks. I'm going to grab a few supers and some other chats on the way out the door. Say thank you to ZBR, Zombie Box Reviews, one of the great mods out there. For £2 starting, says I'm off to bed. I hope you all have a great weekend. My friend, I hope you have an extraordinary weekend. And I noticed that they did give a nod to Doom earlier in the movie. That's true. Where the leader of Latvia was missing. Yep, actually pointed that out in their brand newly formed efforts of Blondie. Maybe we should not. We should pay Hollywood not to make movies. A protection racket. AMC A-list. A lot of people use that to get in and out of films. Regular. It's understandable. Yeah. Yeah. It had that color sapping gray post-production correction that too many movies had. You know, I noticed that unlike Superman, which allowed you to see like an actual color wheel of full band, this one definitely did pull out several different colors. It's dystopian. That happens. There you go. Went and saw F1. Bye-bye movie budget. Hey, Jan Monroe, you got to see a good movie. Congratulations. Beautifully well made. I like a Superman who's not invulnerable. Well, hey, Clifflex, good to see you. Hail to the bear dog. I miss him so much. It's great to see you. Guys, go check my friend, his channel, Clifflex, if you want to feel something for the nostalgia that you fondly remember from maybe not even that so long ago. Check out Clifflex. Not only that, the man who runs that channel is just the greatest person on the planet. So, and I don't say that lightly. Do check it out. I would appreciate it. He sends a super chat for $5. Everybody, please watch Superman. Very good. I need to keep my job. It's a good movie. It's not the best movie. I'm going to say it. This year, it is considered a good film, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And you know, I still didn't even give it the best grade ever. I didn't go back and watch, but Superman better than this movie. I can firmly say it now. All right, folks, I do have to jet. I want to say thank you to all the regulars and my friends like Sci-Fi for Me TV, Jed Ravenwolf. You guys are absolutely the best. You work for Warner Brothers Discovery. I did not know that. 29 years. I didn't ever, you know what? You and I never got to that part of the conversation, but I'm glad you're here. Look, if you want to, this is a man with an eye for color. He knows composition. I mean, you'd think he worked in the business, right? Maybe because he does. All right, I do got to go. All right, so let's do this. We will revisit this subject again tomorrow during bonus time. So if you didn't get enough conversation, you have more questions to ask during the 6-minute daily tomorrow morning, which is at 7:45 a.m. Pacific, which makes it 11:45 a.m. Eastern. I will see you there. We will revisit this subject and all of that. I'm going to say this one more time. Do follow me. And thank you, Jed, for pitching out Clifflix's channel. Do me a favor. Follow me over to Pro Show, where we'll talk more about this. On that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya. Hopefully tomorrow morning. I got 2 things coming out, maybe 3. Woo. Plus Campione. Go check that out too. You gotta go check stuff out.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me fucked up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll put it on your face just to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you gon' wish you would shut the fuck up real bad. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. I don't fucking take smoke, I'ma poke a hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude. Crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently. Thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes a dynasty.